I think I've known Luther most of my adult life. I honestly think we're better off that he's not here. Now Alan took vacation in order to miss this. I thought that was a little absurd. So, Mark, thank you. You've been a good friend of mine. Here's what I don't have. I'm going to speak off the cuff. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company. There are things that I want you as Jessamine County people to know about the company. When people don't know, they'll assume the worst. And you can help us manage a little PR for when people don't know. So I'll give you some straight dope. I'll talk about how Rick and I met and some of our conversations later in life. And then I was going to stop and answer any questions. I appreciate it. I'll probably go 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But so Rick and I met. I was 18 and he was 21. And he always hated that part of the story because he wanted, Craig, I look younger than you. No, you don't, Rick. And but he was getting new. He was new in the business. It's 1974, and my father was a great railroader operating out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We lived in northern Kentucky, and Rick would call on Dad. And Rick was, corporate headquarters was a Mack dump truck and a backhoe, and they were both rented. We own that Mack truck now. We're restoring it, and we've already restored the backhoe. He had incredible hand-eye coordination. Every backhoe operator thinks they're the greatest thing. He really was really good with the backhoe. He had incredible hand-eye. But anyway, Dad found out that he was sleeping in the truck the nights when he was out of town, and Rick was often a house guest of ours. Rick and Dad got along very, very well. But my dad at the time was 55, and I was 18, and after dinner, I think I was a little more fun with Rick than Dad was, so Rick and I got close and was young. I went on, I had a great career at CSX. CSX is the #1 customer of Rick, the R.J. Corman company, then and today. So I knew a lot about the business when I came to R.J. Corman. Rick told me one night, this is in those early days, Craig, how do you think I'm doing with your dad? I do a great R.J. Corman impression, I know that. How do you think I'm doing with your dad, Craig? Well, Rick, you're doing well. Don't lie to me, Craig. It's so important for what I want to do. Rick, there's no other supplier sleeping at the house, bud. I think you're in. I think you're, I don't know how high a goal you want to set here, but. Hey, a lot of people locally know us for our dinner trains. I want to give you some insider trading on dinner trains. And then a lot of people know us about our derailment company. That's a popular question for non-Jessamine County people that they ask me. The Amtrak derailment in Philadelphia, people will say, did y'all get that derailment? Like our company is going to live or die with that Amtrak derailment. No, but so people know us for our derailment company, know us a little bit for our dinner trains and maybe our railroads. We're a lot more than that. And let me tell you, here's the insider trading on dinner trains. Some months we'll get up like $400 or $500 above the red mark, and then the damn air conditioner will go out. And they are not money makers. Do not try to compete with us on dinner trains. You'll hurt both of us. But we do serve good food, and it's a beautiful ride. I recommend that you do it in the summer or the fall before the time changes. You see Calumet Park or Calumet Farms during the daylight. In the winter, we take people through there, and it's like being in a tunnel the whole time. You can't see anything, but we charge just the same. So dinner train is a great PR business for our company. It's a great, our employees love it, our community loves it, it's a break-even business, hopefully, and so we're going to continue that for some time to come. Rick loved the dinner train and loved critiquing the quality of the food, and we're protecting all that. But about 50% of our revenue for the company comes from our own railroads. We have about 900 miles of our own railroad. It's not contiguous. There's parts in West Virginia and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Tennessee and certainly Kentucky. But about 50% of our revenues come from operating our own railroads. I'm really excited about 100 miles that we're purchasing in South Carolina, just because this railroad is going to make me look like I have a white horse and a white hat. Here's what's happened in South Carolina. A guy bought this railroad back in 2003, 2004, and it runs from the center of the state of South Carolina over to Myrtle Beach. He leveraged that purchase of the railroad, he leveraged it in real estate. In 2008, 2009, when that bubble popped, he got upside down on his railroad and could no longer maintain it. The FRA closed him, and now the people of Myrtle Beach are constrained. They're captive to the trucking companies, and the trucking companies have raised rates. So here you've got a tourist town with crowded highways, and now a lot of trucks charging maximum rate. So we've bought that railroad, and we hope to close it here on June 19th. We'll be able to provide an alternative for consumer goods and building supplies into Myrtle Beach. You think about industrial development here in Jessamine County. Industrial development is caught right now in Myrtle Beach, because without rail service, there's not a lot of industry that wants to locate there because they know they're going to be captive to trucks. So I'm real excited about that purchase, and I'll be able to say we're a 1,000-mile railroad then. But I think, and we're going to make a fair value profit, but I think we're really doing good for commerce in South Carolina. So that gives me a charge. So our railroads are a big deal. Our derailment company, we clean up derailments all over the United States. It represents about 20% of our income. But even in our derailment company, only 35% of our derailment company is from picking up wrecks. The rest of that company has broadened out, and I want you all to know as citizens, derailments in the United States, Amtrak was tragic, and people lost their lives, but the number of train accidents over the last 10 years has dropped dramatically. So our derailment company is diversified. They do a lot of other railroad services aside from derailments. And then we handle heavy material for the nation's railroads, primarily CSX and Conrail, where we supply all their rail and heavy material. And then we're the premier railroad construction company. As our American railroads add capacity with double track, we're often considered there and do the majority of the new rail construction, certainly in the East. I want to share with you as business people one of Rick's premise. Now you got to remember, he developed a lot of this as a high school grad. So many of you have heard the adage, there's three things in business. You can be the cost-effective provider, you can be cheap, or you can be fast, or you can be high quality. You pick any two of those that you want to be. You can't be all three. Rick, as a high school kid, and knowing that he was getting into a high-margin railroad industry, picked high quality and brilliant execution. He was going to provide extremely high quality, and he was going to provide it as fast as possible. And we still practice that in the business today. We are not the cheapest, and we don't try to be the cheapest. We're going to be the extreme high quality and the fastest provider. If you look at a railroad when there is a derailment, we'll use a derailment company, but it also applies to our construction company. If there's a catastrophic derailment right here where I'm standing, in 12 hours on CSX main lines or Norfolk Southern main lines that runs through our county right here, about $12 million of revenue will pile up, wanting to go north, wanting to go south on each side of that. So you can, and our cost of resolving the derailment is far below that. So you have $24 million in top line revenue waiting to get through there. The cost of restoring that derailment is not a function of dollars now. You don't have to be the cheapest. You have to be the fastest, because your price is never going to counter what's stacking up every 12 hours on both sides of it. I'll tell you, as a high school kid, showed a lot of genius there. He, as a high school grad, and we live that today, and that extreme high quality, brilliant execution is much in our format today. One other thing I want to share with you, and then I want to tell a story about Rick and I later in life. So when Rick left us, it left a power and political void, and a void that I knew that I couldn't fill. I mean, he was an incredible individual, and he could spend 1 minute with you one time in your life, and a lot of people still remember that moment. He made moments special for people. And my own mother grabbed me and said, "Hey, you can't live up to that. You're not." Got it, Mom, got it. Go sit down. So it left a big void. Rick was a very involved in politics, as many of you all know, and very involved in the community. And I'll tell you what we are doing is that we're raising a bunch of young people. We have a lot of people 28 to 33, and we're getting them and we're shoving them out in the community to help not duplicate that network of friends and family that Rick had, but the company is going to need our young people and going to need an extensive network in the community. And so we're spending a lot of time. Nancy Weiser helps us a great deal with our young people. We take on management trainees. We're anxious to take on management trainees from this county, and then we have an elite group of management that were management trainees, and now they're hot rockets. They're the future leaders of our company. And it's going very well, because some of them are publicly wishing that I would die. They so I wanna. That's when you know success is when the people you mentor hope you die. I want to share a story about Rick and I. My father, that I told you that he called on early in his life, and they became close, was a lot of the moral compass for Rick, or certainly some of the moral compass for Rick. Rick was a young man, very, very aggressive, and wanted his business to succeed there in the late 70s. And my father did a lot of work with Rick. Rick was a very, very good man, but he was aggressive in business, and my father coached him and helped him morally. But my father passed away in 2003. So now it's about 2010, and I'm driving up to see Rick. I'm still with CSX, but I was thinking to myself, my dad was a moral compass. Maybe I have a role here. Maybe I should be tough on Rick here in the absence of my father. Lord knows I'd seen enough of it from my father. And so I was trying to think, what am I going to talk to Rick? When I drove past the ambulatory care center with his name all over it and read everything, and I said, well, that's it. He's getting too big. We're going to smack his ego around here a little bit, and we'll do a service to him and my father passed. So we're sitting in the family room on his house there on Jessamine Station Road. And it's time, and I'm going at him. Hey, Rick, when is it enough, buddy? Your name's on all the fence posts, and there's not a piece of equipment out here that doesn't have your name, and your name's as big as you can possibly get on that. I mean, and the bridges in town are red. So you're finally benevolent, and the dang hospital's red, and it's got your name. When's it enough, Rick? When's it enough? And I delivered my best stuff. I knew I'd score. Well, we're sitting there in his family room of his home, and it's a lot of glass. On both sides of the glass are beautiful pastures. And in the front glass, running away from the house, is his own private jet runway. And so Rick took all this, and he stood up and he said, "Craig, you don't understand the value of red. Red makes people want to spend their money. Look, the evidence is overwhelming." And I said, "Rick, you're an ass." That's he was a wonderful man, and he loved this area. I'd flown back from Ireland, and I flew to Ireland because everybody said it was so pretty. And when I was flying into Lexington, because Rick made me fly commercial back then, I thought, good night, we flew 7 hours to go to Ireland, but look how beautiful this bluegrass is. So I was telling Rick that story, and he said, "I love it right here." And he really did. He loved it right here. So we'll always be here. It's in the trust that we'll be here for 200 years. If that bothers anybody, talk to me. I don't know. We can't do anything about it in 200 years. It's a pretty good time. Hey, I want to talk real quick about the company's doing very, very well. And I'm going to whine here a little bit just to get your all support. But Rick didn't leave us with significant debt. Rick was pretty serious about owning things, and we have some convenience debt that's normal for continuing cash flow operations, but we have very little debt, and we've been able to grow the company better than 35% here in the last 2 years. We've done about 40% of that through acquisition. We bought a training company that specializes in railroad training in Jacksonville, Florida. We started a signal company. Railroads have traffic control systems just like you do on the highway, other than trains can't stop in the line of sight. So there's heavy electronics to tell a train that it's going to have to stop in the next 6 miles. We have a signal company now, and that enables a lot of our other business to enter the market. And so it's going very, very well. We're having incredible growth. We're in January of 2013, we had 1,100 employees, and this morning we have 1,610 employees. So we're growing. And some of those are in 23 states, but of those 1,610 employees, 830 of them are in the Commonwealth, and there's 400 in Jessamine County. So we're proud of our roots. We're proud of our home, and so that's the message. When people go, "Boy, it's not the same since Rick died," it is not. It is not. But the business is thriving, primarily because of the foundation he built or lucked into. I get scared. I get scared. I know that I'll be greeted by my Maker, and He will love me and forgive me for all my sins. But then, as I'm hugging Him and looking over His shoulder, I see Rick Corman going, "Craig, what the hell were you thinking?" I want to go to heaven, but I want to get through that first 15 minutes. Hey, if you're curious about the company, if you have a question, I'd love to answer it. I do have one. Okay, please.
What about the real estate acquisitions that we made in the last few years and setting aside that land? Can you kind of address that?
Yeah, and I'm a benefactor of that land. I live in Barkley Woods, and just north of that property is one of those acquisitions that Rick made, and that land will stay agricultural under a Rhode Island trust for 200 years. And so Rick wanted to preserve the rural living that he enjoyed and was so important to him, and wanted his kids and his community to enjoy that. So he bought up some in 2012. And even as late as January of 13, bought up some significant pieces of property in Jessamine County. In that trust says, it says that I can buy no more property for agricultural purposes. So you're not going to see a continuing acquisition of property. I can buy property for business-related assets, but not for agricultural use. Huh? And you can sell it. You are an opportunist. Please.
I have traveled the state as a Main Street manager in tourism, and one of the questions that I get all the time about R.J. Corman is, can we tour the facilities? And I tell them, no, you can't, that you can come and look at the trains outside of the gate. Have you all ever thought about opening a museum up with some of his collections, trains, and I mean, it's out of the ballpark? Or
No, you're right on. I think you're right on. And it coincides with one of our problems. We have employees today, as quick as that is. I mean, Rick passed in August of 13. And we have employees today that never met Rick, never talked to him. And we've got to preserve his culture. We've got to do it for the family, and we've got to do it for the betterment of the company. So we're working, April, Corman Collier, his youngest, is working on a large area of Hangar 1, as many of you all been to Hangar 1, a large area of Hangar 1 to be a tribute and store some, and it'd be a perfect place for the Mack truck that he started with and the original backhoe. Someday his first chopper, we're still using it in revenue service today, but it ought to hang in there when it ends its life cycle. So now the public piece, we were talking just before, we do a lot in the community with our 5K and 10K races. We do a lot. We let Hangar 1 go, but there's so much more to the property. And we were talking earlier, we have to do better about getting, maybe have a special week where people can have driving tours through the property. We want all of Jessamine County to take pride in what our founder built. I'll tell you, if you don't run a 5K, you might not have seen it. It is just beautiful back there. And he was a little showy when he did some of that. And that's what I was trying to smack him with that day. I'll tell you, it's a great tribute to what he built. And there's 2 bridges on the property, and they're old flat cars that he picked up at a derailment. He was not only a genius, he was a cost-effective genius. So he has these flat cars spanning the creek, and they're painted red, of course. Red is the worst paint that you can paint to live outside. It costs us about $15,000 to paint a locomotive, and those locomotives on the bypass, they fade out in about 2 years, and that's $45,000 every 2 years.
It's the worst on the plane.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And our new planes are primarily white for that reason. Yeah. That's. Hey, what about the planes?
It sure makes them stand out.
Yeah, we're proud of them. Anybody else?
Did you repaint the caboose of one more? Was that you all did that?
I don't know. I do not know that. Was it us?
I was going to say thank you for that.
Oh, I'm embarrassed that I didn't know. I'm sorry. Oh, good. Good.
People are loving it.
Well, Rick loved this county and this community, and it wasn't, Rick had a special relationship with the mayor of Midway, and so we're doing some things out there. We run right through Midway on our route to Louisville, and so He was quite a story for the Commonwealth and loved it. Anybody else? Hey, it was great being with you all today. I appreciate this group. I appreciate how homey it was and people making me feel welcome. Thank you all very much.